The other day I was in a discussion with a guy on a forum, and he said that the reason why he hated working with hardware was because he had to remember the settings on his analog. I think he even took pictures of it so he knew how to replicate the sound. Of course he hated it. I would hate it too if I was working like that. His problem, I think, points to the much larger problem of chasing perfection. One of the biggest points of using analogs is to create an environment of immediacy and fostering an attitude of creating rather than tinkering. Of course, you will have a bad time if you try to use your analog synthesizers the same way as you use software plugins. Back when I was signed to my old record company, my equipment was an Ensoniq sampler, a Kurzweil K2000, damn, I really need to sample that thing, a Mackie 1604 mixer, an Atari, a Boss SE50 and a Sony DAT to be able to send the tracks to the record company. I got 16 tracks from the Mackie, one send return effect processor, plus a couple of synths, and I got shit done like never before. Today, a million years later, trying to figure out why that setup worked so well, one would probably get the old stuff and assume it would work equally well today. Well, it doesn't. Our brains are wired differently now, and while the old gear can give you cool flavors, this is not the solution. Believe me, I have tried so many times. Rather than talk about all the great things about the gear of just decades, let's do the opposite and make a list of all the things that are not there. No SSL compressors, no Pultec EQs, no mastering limiters. The record company did all that stuff. It was a much more primitive time with much more primitive tools. But still, 16 mono tracks from the Mackie, some synths and effects, and I got shit done. Today we have endless undos, perfect recall of all the tracks all the time. There is no going back, and never in my life I would want to. But the issue is that we have got lost in the marvels of technological innovation and ended up putting the carriage before the horse. Depeche Mode is a great example. The dynamic between Martin Gore and Alan Wilder illustrates my point perfectly. Martin Gore, who have written some incredible songs during the years, openly disliked working in the studio and would rather spend time alone writing songs. Alan Wilder, on the other hand, surrounded himself with the latest technology and spent massive amounts of time in the studio working on details. What if you could have both Martin and Alan in your head from now on? What would that do to your music? Considering separating the creative phase, Martin, from the tinkering phase, Alan, is the key not just being more productive, but also to have more fun when making music. I've tried this a couple of times and every time I enjoyed it immensely. Being in the zone, just creating cool music without giving a damn about compressors, delay and if the 303 has the right gnarl or not, has been a blessing to my perfectionist soul. Play, have fun, create cool ideas. And interestingly enough, it's equally fantastic to save the ID than put on the hat that says Alan Wilder on, or even more bombastic, the Trevor Horn hat, and say, now I am going to shape this ID into the coolest thing ever. What do you think? Are you getting actual music done, or do you feel that you are slowly becoming more of an engineer rather than a musician, collecting plugins like kids collect Pokémons? How do you balance creative work from production, or have you found a way to work with both at the same time and still having fun and being productive? Let me know in the comments below.